All right, Norvell set some expectations for 2023. Going into this year, there's a little bit more expectations. We have great players coming back, players that decided not to go to the NFL because they wanted to be a part of this. They wanted to continue to invest. They wanted to continue to build, to continue to be part of something bigger than themselves. Now, a lot of people in the media, a lot of people around the program, it's a little different than what it was 12 months ago. Oh, coach, there's expectations now. Well, there never has been a day with bigger expectations with what we're doing than us. So basically saying we put a lot of expectations on ourselves. Norvell kind of embracing this. Richie, I have a take on this, and I want to talk a little bit about embracing expectations or shielding from expectations or trying to shut out the media and the noise. But I want to hear what you have to say first on Norvell and the team embracing these expectations.
Yeah, so this is his 4th season at Florida State, right? And he's never talked like this in an off season before. I think he's done a good job of not saying, hey guys, we're going to suck, but, keeping things as positive as he can. But this year, we talked about the battle's end. All these guys didn't come back just because they love Tallahassee and want one more year in college. That's probably part of it, but they see a bigger picture. They see the potential to finish the season in Charlotte and end up as one of the top 4 ranked teams in the college football playoff rankings, which gives them a chance to compete for a national championship. That is what the team expects. I don't know if I'm all the way there yet, but that's what these players believe. And when you have Jordan Travis, he's going to be the best quarterback on the field any game you play up until the college football playoff. Yeah, embracing it. I love it. I think it sends a message to the team as well. You hope they don't get a little too high on themselves to the point where, we're going to talk about September here shortly. That could be the season right there. But yeah, I think embracing these expectations, it sends a message to the fan base, and part of being a head coach is fundraising. So if you're out there saying, yeah, we think we'll have a pretty good season, okay, that's not going to get as many donations as, yeah, we're ready for this. We're here. This is the first time that Mike Norvell's really taken this approach, and he seems like a very calculated man to me. This is not something he does unless he truly believed that this team could deliver on the field this coming fall.
Yeah, I was asked a question. I went on a radio show earlier this week, and I was asked or it was last week. I was asked, how does Mike Norvell keep the noise out? And how does he keep his players focused and this was before he made these comments. And how does he keep it from affecting the team? And when I told him, what I said, before Norvell said this, so maybe Mike heard me, was probably not. I said I wouldn't attempt to do that. I wouldn't try to block out the noise. I wouldn't try to keep my kids off of social media because it is everywhere, man. On these phones, we see it every time. ESPN even does targeted ads now. The ads that you see on ESPN, or the articles, not ads, the articles you see on ESPN are always going to have an FSU picture on them because they know that you're an FSU. If that's one of your favorite teams. So if it's an article that mentions 10 teams and one of them's Florida State, it's going to show FSU. So these kids can't even go to the ESPN app without it being shoved in their face, right? Yeah. So if I'm like Norvell, I'm not trying to shield it from them. I'm not trying to hide it. I am 100% saying embrace this. You guys are this good. We've been preaching. I'm selling it as a way to sell my locker room. I'm using it as a way to sell boosters like Richie mentioned. I'm using it as a way to sell recruits. Hey, you want to come to Florida State? Here's what everybody's saying about you. Now, the caveat is that you got to live up to it, right? The caveat is that it can all be gone in an instant. It can all be gone in September, which we'll talk about, like Richie said, in just a second. But I'm not trying to block out any noise. I'm embracing it. Now, there becomes a point where, like Richie says, you don't want them reading so much into their own press clippings that they don't think they have to show up, or they don't think they have to put the work in. And but I don't worry about that with Mike Norvell. I don't worry about that with this staff. What they have always done is they have preached the same consistent message over and over and over and over again. When we won 3 games, they were preaching the same message. We won 10 games, they were preaching the same message. When we beat LSU, preaching the same message. Lost to Jacksonville State, preaching the same message. It's the same message year after year after year, game after game after game, week after week after week. It's the same thing from Mike Norvell and his staff. And that's where I would say, listen, 3 years ago when we lost every single game on the schedule, when we lost to Jacksonville State 2 years ago, when this happened or that happened, or they said you guys were losers, or they said I was getting fired, or they said this, that, and the other, we were telling you the same thing. We were telling you we would get here. And I don't know if Mike Norvell knew it would happen this quickly, but I do think he knew it would happen. And so that's where I would say, guys, our process is right. Our message has been right. Our practice has been right. We knew that we would get here. Again, maybe not this quickly, but we knew we would get here, and now the rest of the nation knows that we got here. And so what is that lesson? Continue to do the things we've been doing. Continue to put the work in. Continue to put the same effort in. Continue to work like you've never worked before. And if you continue to do that, here's what I'm telling you guys. I told you 3 years ago that we would get here. If you continue to do what I told you would need to be done so that the national media, you'll win it. You'll win it all. The Battle's In is now putting at the end of their tweets, going for it all in 2023. This is not like, hey, we're going to make a nice run. Hey, we're going to try and make the ACC Championship. Hey, no. The expectation this year is to win it all. Make the playoff and then make noise. It's not about anything else. And could we be let down? Absolutely. Could we get our hearts broken? Absolutely. But the message is very clear. It's not about just, if we make Charlotte, that'd be a nice season. If we could win, if we could finally upset Clemson, that'd be a nice season. If we could beat all three of our rivals, nobody cares about any of that. It's about making the playoff. And that's what the expectation is. And Norvell is 100% embracing it. And 100% the fan base should be too. Could that lead to a letdown? Could that lead to a rough September? Absolutely. But that's part of what being a fan is, guys. There is no reason that the expectation should be anything less than the playoff. Would beating Georgia and Ohio State or whoever is going to be there be tough? Absolutely. I will tell you, getting Georgia in a first-year offensive coordinator with a lot of pieces that they're replacing is probably the year you want to be doing it. But I'm telling you, 100% embracing expectations is the way to go. They're not trying to block out any noise. They want that noise to propel them to keep doing what Norvell's been preaching the last 3 or 4 years. Whew, I'm out of breath there, Richie. But September, how important is that for what we want to do this year?
I mean, it's everything, right? For so many years, our season has been over in September. This last year is the first year it wasn't. But it all comes down to, LSU and Clemson. You get both Tigers in the same month. I think if you split that, then you could have a very realistic chance to run the table and get to the college football playoff, because that's the ultimate goal, right? That's why Jordan Travis came back at 24, 25 years old, however old he is now. That's why Fabian Lovett came back despite having a kid who he's trying to provide for. That's why, Trey Benson, who could have been a late round NFL draft pick, came back. All these guys came back again with the goal of making the college football playoff. And September is going to set the tone. If you're 4-0 September, I don't know about you, TJ. I'm buying tickets to whatever semifinals Florida State might be projected to be in. I'm definitely booking my room in Charlotte. It's exciting time to be a Florida State fan. We haven't had this excitement since before the 2017 season. Obviously, that did not work out the way we thought it would. But with hindsight, the math kind of adds up at what led to that. So no need. We could do an hour-long podcast just on that. But yeah, it's nice to come into a season and have expectations and play big games. That's, if we're Florida State, right? We built our brand on anyone, anywhere, anytime. So if you're saying, oh man, we got Clemson and LSU, no, that's not what we're talking about. Mike Norvell has preached it from day one, like you said, TJ. In every player interview you listen to, they talk about the work, right? If you do the work, everything else takes care of itself. Like, things are going good at work right now. I got to present to my CEO tomorrow morning. I'm not nervous because I've put the work in and prepared. And I think that's the mentality that Mike Norvell and these players have. And I think one thing that's underrated, this is basically like a BYU team with better players, right? It's a bunch of old dudes. These are grown men that are going to be playing against 18, 19, 20-year-olds. And Florida State is going to have grown men who have played a lot of college football and are not afraid of anything they see. And I'm excited because I think there's a really good chance they're going to take care of business the way we all hope they will.
Yeah. The expectations are clear. It's all laid out in front of them. Florida State's schedule even sets up really well for it, which we've talked about and we've put other places. But September's huge. You have to come out of September 3-1 at worst.
Yeah.
And if you come out of September 3-1, you set yourself up really well to make the playoff. If you come out of September 4-0, you're probably the number 2 team in the country.
Twitter's going to be a fun place.
Number 1 no matter what. But yeah, we're partying if we come out 4-0. So we'll see what can happen. Long way to go before now and then, but I just felt like getting fired up on a Sunday afternoon. So All right, let's do this. If you're watching, if you're listening, make sure that you hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you hit that like button. If you haven't yet, do us a favor and hit that join button. You can become a member for literally less than a cup of coffee per day. You get a cool little emoji next to you. Some of you guys are almost to your 1 month, so you're going to get a new emoji when month 2 kicks off. But you also get priority in answering questions. We also like to include you guys in the show in any way that you can. So go check that out. Become a member today if you haven't already. But certainly hit that share, subscribe, all those buttons as well. We'll talk about our friends over at Garnet and Gold. Again, you guys are FSU fans if you're tuned in and watching this, or you're haters that are tuning in because your team stink and got 40 points scored on them by the Noles this year. But either way, go to gardengold.com, the absolute best when it comes to FSU licensed apparel, merchandise, and gear. You can use code NOSLAW, NOSLAW, to get 15% off of your order. NOSLAW, NOSLAW, will get you 15% off the best Florida State gear on the market. They also have incredibly quick shipping, great customer service, and they are a joy to work with. Go to gardengold.com and support today.